This episode is brought to you by Chatbooks. Chatbooks is an app that automatically turns the thousands of photos in your phone into printed books you can actually hold. And honestly, it's one of the simplest ways I found to make sure the moments I care about don't just like disappear into my camera roll and into the cloud. And as a parent, it's absolved me of the guilt of not scrapbooking, made me feel like I did scrapbook, but without the labor of scrapbooking, which is really all I can ever ask for. And it's super easy in how it helps you identify photos and not have to spend hours going through them. And I'll tell you more about it later, but just wanted to tell you at the top so you don't forget. You can download the app and head to the deals tab to start chatbooking today with my special code BeThereIn5 that gets you 20% off your purchase. Thanks to Chatbooks, and more on this later. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Be There in 5 podcast. I'm Kate Kennedy, your host. It is Saturday, December 20th, and I've tried like different episodes for this week and can't quite figure it out. And I keep trying to recap 2025 or like talk about the year collectively because sometimes it's nice to do like a capstone reflection. I mean, this is a show about culture after all. But like I'm finding everything I listen back to, I'm like, holy deadpan Eeyore. Like, hello, Holly, it's Jolly. Are you there? Like, don't people want to be uplifted? I think that 2025 for me was just like, it was tough politically, understatement of a century. It was a fire hose of worst case scenarios and like current events. It's hard to disseminate. Like, are things getting materially worse, or is the pace and, volume of news we're getting accelerating and excessive relative to what we're meant to process? And it's a bit of both, I think. And then that's not even my scope of work. Pop culturally, I'm like, what can we reflect on? It's like, I don't know, a Jet 2 holiday? Like, each Microtrend's more forgettable than the last. And I think some things are going to be memorable, others not. But I do think year over year, when I sit down to do this, I realize that things are less and less memorable as time goes on. And culture produces so many moments. But yeah, do they hold memory? Do they have staying power? Do the youths of today who will write their one in a millennials of tomorrow have the cultural cohesion where things stick around enough for long enough, or the brain experiences enough repetition to form a memory? And like, I don't know. And I think when I ask myself questions about how we consume culture, I start to kind of spiral out about like, well, there's part of it where, yes, that's true, but also I'm getting older and I'm not at the epicenter of what's generating culture. I'm a bit on the outskirts, so I'm kind of playing catch up sometimes. And I really feel strongly about not being one of those people that's like, I'm too old to understand it, because you're not. You're not. If you were on the front lines of 5th grade, you could understand 6, 7. But why would we feel bad about being on the outside of an inside joke? It's not meant for us. And yeah, it's interesting because like, I think it's so fun to participate in these like micro trends and small moments, because what else can you do while you're weathering the tough stuff going on in life or in current events? But I do have like bigger questions about, when collectively what we're looking back on is a series of micro trends whose, sure, absurdity is probably directly proportionate to the negative absurdity we feel like we're living through. But it kind of makes for a year that is somehow both depleting but not defining. And when I was one of my favorite episodes of this year was the 2016 one, when I kind of was starting to like sort through my existential thoughts about social media and internet culture and my age, and being like, I actually am one of those people now that are like, back in my day, 2016, the last greatest year, where we listened to the Chainsmokers, my shirts had built-in chokers, and I was looking toward a contour baked-in bright future. And then things shifted, but they did. And the internet has a lot to do with that. And I'm a person that really celebrates the way it connects us, but like the way certain things have accelerated in recent years, it's like something I need to name and need to sort through my thoughts about, because I think there's more at stake than we maybe realize in terms of what we hold on to and how we define time, and the longer term implications of everything being rewarded that is entirely disposable. Just reading from different like media theorists, if you will, like there's real documentation of trend cycles compressing, and it's crazy. Like fashion trend cycles used to last 20 plus years. Like, when a silhouette would dominate, I mean, for men, I'm mostly talking female fashion. And then like in the 2010s, they compressed to about 3 to 5 years. And now, per fashion forecasters, TikTok driven microtrends last 3 to 6 weeks on average before being declared over. And like music charts, Billboard #1 songs used to stay at the top for like an average of 8 to 10 weeks in the 90s and 2000s. And then in 2024 to 2025, like the past couple of years, the average has been 2 to 3 weeks. Songs peak a lot faster, but they fall off faster. And this is part of why we have all of these variants and all of these remixes. And you have to like manufacture and work the system to almost inflate the activity because people's attention just isn't there anymore. And like the half-life of viral content, and this is fascinating to me as somebody whose entire career is based off of technically going viral in 2014 with the doormats, and social media researchers, they've tracked the lifespan of viral content. And in 2015, viral moments had cultural relevance for like weeks and months. And that in and of itself was like seen as being kind of a flash in the pan. But in 2020, this compressed to like days to weeks just because of how online everybody was. But now in 2025, it's more like hours to days. And thinking about something being viral for hours is like, I don't know, it's so crazy. But then you just move on and like, what do you hold on to? And I think that, yeah, they call it temporal compression. It's a phenomenon where cultural objects are produced, consumed, and discarded at accelerating rates. And yeah, I don't know, there's a lot of interesting information about this. That's not just like, oh, kids these days, social media is bad for your health, brain rot, which I feel all those things too. But like, yeah, there is neuroscience to this. Like our brains need time and repetition to form memories. When things move this fast, they don't register. We need emotional significance in addition to sustained engagement. And you need like distinct event boundaries, like beginnings, middles, and ends. And there's something called like what is it called? There's this like ephemeral perpetual present where it's content designed to be instantly consumed, immediately replaced, in a sense that we're living in an eternal now with no past or future and just an endless scroll of moments. I think I become most aware of the time suck when, like, I think the most uncreative part of the internet is like the repetition remix trending sound thing that is just like to humble brag, to show off. It's just like so uninspired. Like there's some trends that can be fun, but some that everybody does because they're so self-serving. And there's something like uniquely deranged about hearing time casts a spell on you for the 14th time in a row, like the first 3 seconds of the Fleetwood Mac song Everywhere, because it's everywhere while you're actively wasting your time. Reading text about people's tepid milestones over the same audio. It like time is casting a spell on me and you. The spell is the paralysis of like watching my life pass me by in 3-second increments of the same Fleetwood Mac sample for like a trend that's not even good. And yeah, I think Reels has really just made a core social media app truly insufferable in big ways that we need to call attention to. But regardless, there's always going to be like good and bad, things that were fun, things that will stick, things that slip away. I guess what I'm saying is I do think that there's something noticeable to me, high level, about the like quality and forgettability of stuff that feels different to me this year. And perhaps it's the absurdity, like I said, being, proportionate to the like absurd reality we were living in, and it's a means of survival. So I don't want to discount all of it, but I do think that like, yeah, I don't know. So much of me recapping, it's like, oh God, this stuff that was fun in real time is like kind of not that all that interesting to talk about. Maybe because it was overexposed, oversaturated, or maybe not even all that interesting to begin with. And it was just designed to serve as the disposable hit of dopamine that it was. And anyways, I'll leave my other existential spiraling thoughts to the episode. But it's always a bit of like a catch-22 with this job, because I want to talk about the things we consume, but there's also the meta conversation about how we're consuming things. And I feel more inclined lately to share my concerns with it all while being a consumer of it. But that's the thing, is I think we can do both. Like I'm not like a no screen time gal that's going to tell you to log off forever. I actually don't even believe in scroll shaming, because I think we ignore a lot of the structural things in place very much designed to divide and shrink our attention spans in ways that would be honestly hard to avoid, yet we internalize it as a form of self-shame. But that's what I think that's what I think they want. Kind of like how Big Litter wanted us all to point at each other and scapegoat, who the litter bugs were for a gum wrapper here and there. Meanwhile, they're the ones destroying the oceans, tangling the little duckies in the soda can plastic. You're not looking up at the powers that be when you're looking at your neighbor being like, that can's not in recycling. That's an aside. I think about 90s litter bug culture all the time. I mean, don't litter. It's not great. But I think so often we're just like pointing to the wrong places. I actually feel similarly about AI, like policing people's individualized ChatGPT usage, like whatever. I don't need to get into it as a creative. I have a lot of issues, but there's just like such bigger things at play with that topic that I think people are like very distracted from by just being like, oh my God, an M dash, What was I saying? This year, pop culturally, I guess what I'm saying is it was a little bit like uninspired, yet the pace was exhausting. And when I kind of sat down to do an episode about all this stuff, I felt like it was kind of like negative and blah in tone. And I just was like, is this the vibe? So anyway, as always, I can rely on you, the Beths, to just like gut check. And I just asked you on Instagram, like, if you could describe 2025 in like a phrase, a few words, what would it be? And God love you, because you made me realize I'm not crazy. I'm not being too negative. Things aren't great. And maybe it's okay to just have an episode where I have various existential spirals and we talk about 2025 in a way that's just like, what was that? With the exception of that trend, honestly, my favorite part of 2025 was probably that trend that's like, my boyfriend's going to show you his Pokemon card collection and you better be nice. Those are so charming. I also, I didn't like the one that was like, I'm so hungry I could eat a Chad Danforth for lunch or whatever. You remember that? It was like insert a name of your partner or your friends, like first grade teacher or prom date or random ass person from their past, and like freak them out by what you said in that context. And yes, Chad Danforth is Troy Bolton's best friend from High School Musical. Anyway, this is what you guys said when I asked you how you felt about 2025. I don't think so, honey. Funny enough, I went to see one half of Lost Culture last night at Matt Rogers' show. He's like a really good singer. It scratched an itch, a Broadway one, a Swiftie one. He sang Elizabeth Taylor and did like a Whoville medley. Then it somehow went into No Good Deed. I was thrilled. Okay, he said, shit show chaotic, WTF. Yes, it can get worse. Where is the love? Down the drain, devastating, surprising, weird, nightmare fuel, dumpster fire in hell. Unplanned, unfun, unbelievable. Orwellian. Chaos, chaos, chaos. Sigh. AI slop. It was unnecessary. Should have let it stay buried. What I imagine fraternity hazing feels like. The fuck? Worse than 2020. What is time? Just no. Delusional. Home goods clearance end cap. Sorry, I just passed away. That one was devastating. I know exactly what you mean. It's almost worse than sticky Marshalls, face wash, and oversized conditioners levels of depressing. Aw, hopeful despite it all. Longest year ever. The Great American Downfall. Absolutely not. Fever dream. Whiplash. Mentally and emotionally draining. Like being awake during surgery. What? How? Wait, two of you guys said that. Is that like a phrase that's happening right now? Roller coaster. Mentee bee. Awful. Disheartening in many ways, but we live for the hope of it all. I don't know if this is embarrassing, you guys, but, well, you know how I told you that I accidentally bought a necklace that was kind of expensive for the wrong astrological sign? I'm an idiot. I clicked the one next to it. I'm a Virgo. I clicked Leo, but it actually works because that's my son's sign. I'm not a Leo, but I couldn't return it because I had it engraved, but not with my initials. I'm so corny. I had it engraved to say, for the hope of it all, because I don't know if there's like a phrase I need to look at sometimes. I think it's that. Anyway, you guys, yeah, it keeps going on and on and on. TLDR, we have a consensus. So I guess I'm not all that worried about my Eeyore of an app. I feel sometimes embarrassed just because it's like partially how I feel about social media, the internet, politics, blah, blah, blah. But also just feelings about getting older and being a mom and being in a different phase of my life where I'm no longer so clearly building towards something and I'm kind of just existing, and like how to even feel proud of myself or accomplished sometimes. And it's just, I don't know. I feel like it's slightly embarrassing, but I'm just going to leave it because I feel like this is what we used to do in old episodes, like Beth of Both Worlds or whatever, at the end of 2020, when similarly, I was feeling, I felt a little frustrated by, it's like, I do want to live for the hope of it all, but sometimes it can feel annoying when things are too positive because it's not reality. It's like, I want the things I consume to exist alongside me in the same world and not have to convince me it's otherwise. So if 2025 was a banger for you, hey, congrats. Cadoos. Go off and thrive. Don't bother with this. Fly away home. I think about that movie a lot. That was millennials' first exposure to Canada geese long before we wanted to upgrade our North Face Denali's to an $800 coat. That movie with Anna Paquin, Fly Away Home. Anyway, well, thanks some advertisers. Here's some random feelings I have about this year and life in general, and I hope it's okay. Bye. This episode is brought to you by Osea. Do you guys feel like everyone's talking about body care now in the way that's like face skincare was like all the rage? I don't know. When I find simple feel-good upgrades to my routine, I feel like a new woman. I feel like I have dolphin skin. I feel like with Osea, it was like, come for the Undaria algae body oil, stay for the Undaria algae body butter. In the winter, I use both. The Undaria algae body butter it's rich, it's ultra nourishing, it leaves your skin feeling soft and smooth. And it's made with seaweed, shea butter, ceramides, and I actually struggle a lot more with my body skin than my face skin, if that makes sense. I've keratosis pilaris, I have like textured strawberry skin. My skin is so dry and have to take like elaborate dolphin showers to even feel okay. And once I've done all that effort, the exfoliating, all the things, I want to lock in moisture. I want to feel good. And the Undaria algae body butter is like my kind of double duty with the Undaria algae body oil, or they have a really great hyaluronic body serum that can be your first step, but you can also just use this body butter alone. It's so soft, it's fast absorbing and not greasy, and it smells like the Undaria algae body oil. And if you can believe it, it moisturizes for up to 72 hours. So it's like not your average body butter. And in really drying seasons, it's just really helpful for me to like feel smooth. And I'm such a big fan of the body butter as much as the oil, but I feel like I talk about the oil more, so figured I should tell you. And it's also actually clinically shown to visibly improve texture and firmness after 4 weeks. Experience body care from Osea that actually delivers visible results. And right now we have a special discount just for our listeners. Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code BeThereIn5 at OseaMalibu.com. That's OseaMalibu.com, code BeThereIn5. This episode is brought to you by Aura Frames. I'm not one to scroll shame, but if you're trying to get off your phone but you still want the dopamine hit and reliving your shared memories, like, I just think digital picture frames are so ideal. Gifting an Aura frame is an ideal way to keep family near, even when they're far. It's the best way to spread holiday cheer. It's a digital picture frame that kind of has a frame TV vibe of where they look like real prints. It displays photos or like live photos as videos, unlimited, by downloading the Aura app and connecting it to Wi-Fi. But when you gift it, you can preload them with photos before it ships and then keep adding from anywhere all the time and like surprise grandparents or siblings or friends from afar with like what you're up to, photos of the kids, photos of the pets. You can personalize your gift by adding a message before it arrives, of course. It's the gift that keeps on giving because you can share photos and videos effortlessly straight from your phone all year long. And there's a gift box included, but I know some people are passionate about wrapping. Every frame comes packaged in a premium gift box with no price tag. And of course you can't wrap togetherness, but you can frame it. It's been featured in 495 gift guides during 2024 alone, selected 3 times as one of Oprah's favorite things. As I said last week, it's your favorite gifter's favorite gift. And for a limited time, you can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, using promo code BeThereIn5 at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code BeThereIn5. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning it at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. It's interesting, like, trying to recap 2025 pop culture because it's almost like one of those 2020 type years where I'm like, meh, don't I dread on the way out? Like, ready to, let's wrap it up, which I don't like feeling that way. I also do not want to wish away time, especially having felt like, I'm sure we all feel like we wasted prime years in the pandemic. And like, do you remember when everybody was talking about like post-pandemic was going to be the roaring 20s? It's like, well, once we get out of this house, get ready, world. Watch out, Nashville. I don't know if anyone, why did I say that? Oh, that's what people say with like bachelor parties. That makes me laugh. Charleston can't handle us. I think it'll be good. Yeah, those mean streets can't handle You and your gals on a pedal pub. No, but it was like, there was a lot of theories about how the 2020s would be just a wild reclamation of socializing and culture and joy and celebration. And yeah, still waiting. The closest we came, I think, was summer 2023. It was a Barbie summer. It was an Eras Tour summer. You know, the culture was good when I was 9 months pregnant and literally dying. And I look back on that summer fondly. I'm like, how can we have had a fun year pop culturally when we didn't even have a song of summer? It's been tough out there. But yeah, when it's like, okay, let's start from the top. 2025 started with a level of intensity and set of pace I think we never really escaped across these verticals of like pop culture, politics, just like terrible things that just happened to happen. It's like the stuff we can control and the stuff we can't that collided to just create a really tough year overall. And I just remember like the first 10 weeks of this year, they were so stressful. Like I haven't needed an inhaler since I played like AAU volleyball. And even then, looking back on that, I was like, did I need that? Exercise-induced asthma? And like, or was that for attention? Unclear. But I felt like I couldn't breathe because what do you mean? Trump signed 220 executive orders just for 2025. He averaged 55 a year his first term. A year. The first, I'll get sidetracked. But yeah, then it's just the flood the zone of it all. We go through a period of time where it's like by the time we get to March, we've had the wildfires, the plane crash, the inauguration, the mass deportations, the dismantling of major government agencies, the biggest mass workforce reduction in like federal agency history. We have like the Doge cuts, the tariffs. Like these are things that would dominate a news cycle for weeks, but they were happening either simultaneously or in rapid succession. And it's that thing where like you're constantly activated and at times conflating it for like a form of activism that isn't really there. Like obviously that's important when we're like organizing and actually getting shit done, but like day to day, minute to minute, we have to like operate and live and love and be friends and partners and parents. And like it just became, this was, one of the first years that I was like, this is so profoundly unsustainable. And it's funny because like a big reason, one of my theses for starting this show, like back in 2018, I remember saying like, I think the media life cycle's too fast and we miss passing stories that matter. And I like want to talk about pop culture stories, not just in passing, but like about what they mean. And it's funny to think about that in 2018 because I'm like, I mean, it's just comparatively what we're dealing with now is just nowhere close. And like, what was I so in 2018? Was I like feeling as though, you know, what was my local paper, galmeetsglam.com? Was I feeling like her, top knot tutorial was followed up too quickly by a chair upholstery? Like that's what I was consuming then probably. She does a lot of Hermes unboxings now. Do you guys kind of feel like the influencers that get the Palladium hardware are really having to talk themselves into how bad they wanted it, allegedly? I don't know. I'm suspicious. Like Q1 was, it's like, sure, Meghan Markle's back on Instagram. Nikki Glaser crushed the Golden Globes. People seem to really like The Pit. I can't watch it because I don't like to watch surgery for fun. I honestly wish I could watch medical dramas, you guys. It's like a big cultural blind spot for me. Yeah, it was right before Inauguration Weekend. There's the banning of the TikTok goes down. Remember the creators that night were saying bye to everybody like they'd never see them again on every other platform. Since it's just us, I'm going to tell you the tea. And they like would spill tea about, a few of them really said some stuff. It was awesome. I loved it. Yeah, there was like the weird TikTok ban, but then it's like performatively, I think, resurrected by Trump, right? When he gets like is about to be sworn in, and that whole thing was so suspicious and strange. And I actually did a whole episode on it, but literally by the time I had it ready, it was so, people had moved on in such a big way, like it never happened. And my job this year, I felt like literally crazy because I like to be thorough and I like to know what I'm talking about. And I also don't like to overfeature like slop. And it's confusing to know what to like breathe more life into, where there's something deeper. And I feel like talking about the slop as it happens is where you get a lot of engagement. But then like, that's your body of work. And it's not something people ever want to revisit. And, I care about like stuff that's more evergreen. I actually want to find the things we can hold on to sometimes, like flower sprinkles. And I act like my job's so important. It's not. But I would just sometimes do episodes, but people would move on so fast that it felt not worth it. Like it would just be a skip, and I can't afford the loss in downloads. And it's almost worse. It's like you have to strike while the iron's hot, but if you strike just after, when it's cooling off, it's almost like when people are obsessed with and talking about something and binge it, being a little late is worse than being like 3 months late. Because a little late, they're like disgusted by it and can't even look at it. But yeah, pop culturally, I'm like, okay, so what exactly were we up to? 100 men versus one gorilla? Labubu's? The Coldplay kiss cam? Justin Bieber standing on business? Like, these are the stories. I couldn't tolerate a second more of people talking about Sydney Sweeney's jeans. Another episode I scrapped talking about, American Eagle and Gap. It's not that I had a bad time. It's that, like, sure, it was fun to watch videos about nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday. But this year feels like anything but a Jet 2 holiday. What's a Jet 2 holiday? I guess we'll never know. I'm assuming it's like, do you guys remember Student Universe? Cheapcaribbean.com, or like, I think it's a place you find all-inclusives and cruises and stuff. But in the UK, maybe. Regardless. That's the thing. It doesn't matter. It's not about what it is. It's about the value the internet has assigned to it. And what it is a joke for when you are actually not having a nice holiday and you need a sound to put along with your video that shows that your floor-to-ceiling hotel drapes are performative and they're actually hiding like a tiny prison window. And you're like, nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday. You create the video, performs well. You don't get any follows off of it because I don't really think people get follows off of sounds. But you do it anyway because you have to constantly create and be putting out content to like get in the algorithm's favor and to get visibility. So when you put in a lot of effort and make the things that like do matter, that could get you follows, people actually get to see that stuff. So in the meantime, you fill your feed with popular bullshit with no staying power because you have to play the game. It's really exciting. The way I would describe 2025 is almost like exhausting but forgettable. But when I look at individual events, I'm like, but stuff happened. I mean, we had good moments. Why is it forgettable? And it's just because we don't talk about stuff that long. Or maybe it's like not that objectively interesting because when I'm going through this list, I'm like, oh yeah, we really did get behind Kendrick Lamar's bootcut Celine denim. That was nice. Tough backstory behind the Super Bowl halftime show with Drake of it all, but great performance. Beyonce winning album of the year finally for Cowboy Carter. That was important. I actually remember feeling hopeful at the Grammys because the performances were out of this world. Remember, it was like Sabrina Carpenter, who is showing so much hope and promise, and she's just really provided so many bright spots, I think, the past couple years. Chappell Roan had an electric Pink Pony. Charlie XCX, outstanding. Ray, oh my God, Dough Cheese was wild. It was so good. It was a great show, and I was like, what a year for music this will be. And then it was, again, crazy we didn't have a Song of Summer outside of Alex Warren's Ordinary. Nobody loves a hype-house Billboard hit maker trajectory that we never saw coming like this gal. I am #1 fan of Addison Rae's career, and I think she's such a star and will do big things. And I saw her in concert, and it was electric. But Alex Warren's I'm interested to see what his like staying power is. Also, speaking of exhausting but slightly forgettable, Benson Boone performed at that Grammys. Acrobatics, I don't know, you guys. Exhausting but forgettable. Like I actually think something good about 2025 was we finally had the discourse we needed to as women about men doing backflips. Not the flex they think it is. I don't think. I mean, could I do one? No. God, no. But am I overly impressed by them? Also, no. And I don't know, you guys. I feel like I've talked about this before, which is crazy because I know nothing about Benson Boone. But I find this niche relationship to be so interesting, and I have nobody to talk to about it. He dated for years this TikToker that I started following during the pandemic, as did many people. She has millions of followers, but it's kind of under the radar. And her name's Maggie, and she's a doll. And her and her dad do dances together and like play games where one pushes the other in the pool. But her dad's like this like kind of well-known motivational speaker who also dabbles in the circus arts. So then they were doing like videos and TikTok trends while balancing on balls as if they were circus seals. I don't know. I just think she's very sweet, and she's trying to make it in LA, and she dated Benson for a long time, and she did a video implying that he cheated. And then the girl that he allegedly cheated with made this god awful music video about being in love with her best friend Benny. It was like the craziest niche sliver of popular culture that nobody followed. I tried to get people into the tea on Instagram. Very, very remarkably low engagement. But this is how I like to spend my time. I know people are hard on Benson Boone, like almost in a Nickelback way, which, I'm careful to hop on the bandwagon of, because he does have a very good voice in that cover he did of that Adele song was really, really good. And he is I think he's maybe is Mormon. I don't know. I'm interested in male performing artists that are like low-key Mormon or started there. You're Ryan Gosling, your Imagine Dragons. Do you remember when the Imagine Dragons singer was like wearing kind of slutty athleisure at his concerts and performing I feel it. What's that song? Welcome to the new age. With his shirt off. He looked great, but I could tell he was going through a divorce before I even learned that. Nothing says I'm going through a divorce like male athleisure. I think that I'm just mad because like I really, no matter how jukey it gets, I really like a sequin power suit. I like a sequin jumpsuit, and I just felt like I was white knuckling watching him moose knuckle through one backflipping off of a grand piano at the Grammys. It's not really like landing for me in like a David Bowie way that I don't know if that's maybe what he's trying to do. He's landing the flips, which is an important part of the shtick. But what did I say? Oh, exhausting but forgettable. I mean, a lot of stuff is. Have you ever watched a full season of Love is Blind in a couple days? My God. Everything happens and you want all of your life back. What a waste of fucking time that show is. Nick and Vanessa, that show is too unblessed and should be stressed. It's so bad. No one goes on that to find a partner. It's the married at first sight-ification of reality TV shows that started from a genuinely interesting place that actually kind of were a social experiment, only to realize like everyone's a charlatan. And what do you mean Dr. Pepper doesn't have their best interest in mind? A win for this year was K-pop Demon Hunters, I will say that. And I think we had a great time with Summer I Turned Pretty, or my obsession with Dancing with the Stars. I had a big cat's eye fixation this year that really, honestly, brought me a lot of enjoyment. After watching Netflix Dream Academy, can't recommend it enough. Stick with it. It's really good, like episode 3-ish. You'll become very attached to these people. They're really talented. They're kind of given songs with like brain rot lyrics, optimized to like be popular, sticky earworms. But I'd argue that their current song, Internet Girl, is actually underanalyzed. Like, I think it has a bigger message. I do. And I know the chorus just repeats, eat zucchini, but there's more to it. Okay? Trust me. I love Cat's Eye. But yeah, I need cultural events kind of, and not just passing moments. And I need something to stick to my ribs and a multiverse to participate in, and something that's like gratifying and expands beyond just this one thing. And I think those universes, like that's why fandoms are so great and can sustain you through cycles where like things are not all that satisfying. I mean, the Louvre heist was fun. Rapture talk, Courtney and I got a kick out of for a minute, but I already forgot about that. It was fun when the Blue Origin women saw feminism by going to space in full glam. That was a fun couple days on the internet, but again, a couple days. However, that did produce probably, I have 3 favorite episodes this year, and one of them is also E.T. Phone Homes, where we talked about that, but also that's not even why I liked it. I have so little drama in my life that I got to present a breaking news story that week, and I was embroiled in a controversy where somebody thought I left a bad review on their business. And then I found the business and I found the review that was being attributed to me. And while it was by a person named Kate, their picture was an actual lion. Like a lion at the zoo or on Pride Rock, where the mane was a feline and not a human woman. The woman did come after me a few more times that I didn't say on air because honestly, I got a little bit scared. But it never got resolved. And I still, to this day, do not know why that woman thought a girl, was a part of the animal kingdom. I did not relish the Coldplay couple. Something felt weird to me about it. It was kind of a sad example how like gleefully people want to destroy strangers in the name of comedy, only to forget about the next day and it means nothing to them, but it meaningfully ruined other people's lives. You know, I think those things are kind of sad. I did like that anglerfish that saw the sun. Okay, we have some stuff, you guys. I shouldn't be too negative. What other things felt like a win? I mean, I like believe in high quality reporting. I believe in the importance of truth in journalism. And there was one story that I just thought, God, the integrity, the accuracy, it's important that we achieve consensus on this. And I'm just finally glad to see a media outlet doing the right thing. And that is naming Jonathan Bailey as sexiest man alive. And I, I love him. I love him. He is perfect. And, you know, that whole moment with his slutty little glasses in Jurassic World, that was important too. And while I wasn't particularly inspired that all of the movies this time, what came out? Lilo and Stitch, Jurassic World, another Happy Gilmore. It is hard, you guys, to feel inspired. Sorry, I'm going down my list and I'm like, is any of this really that interesting to me? Obviously, us getting more information than we ever thought possible about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce and getting that engagement announcement, getting the New Heights interview, that was a time. I mean, I did shows about it longer than the actual content itself. I still can't believe we're getting as much information as we are, even from just the first two episodes of the Eras doc, which I'll get to see later this week. But I'm assuming that we're going to get like a bigger Travis feature. And I'm just so curious for what we'll learn because they're just so much more open. And yeah, the Life of a Showgirl lead up was exciting, even if the album wasn't my favorite. I feel like people have been declaring the death of monoculture like forever, but things would happen that would have staying power. Like I mentioned the, Barbie Summer, like the Eras tour, like Beyonce's Renaissance. I felt like that was a Summer of Silver, like Brat Summer. I mean, there were really fun, like more wide reaching and stretching moments that would end up happening every year despite all of this chatter. But I do think in 2025, it actually happened where perhaps we were all so siloed in our own algorithms. We weren't even experiencing the same things, but a bunch of brain rot memes. And I feel like we started talking a lot more about brain rot in the summer. And I think it's good to name and talk about and be aware of because, like, has my brain meaningfully rotted this year? Yeah, it has. Do I think it's irreversible? No, I don't. Okay, can I tell you a story? So, it's about apples. So I think that what's hard, something that's really hard as an internet person, you'll hear everyone bitch about this, is like the bean soup of it all. So you share a recipe for bean soup. This is like a colloquialism, I feel like, for whataboutism in comment sections where as a creator, you say you like something, and what people hear is everything you didn't say or will imply that because you didn't say everything ever, that means you feel a certain way about it. And the bean soup thing is the origin is like somebody posts a recipe of bean soup. And in the comments, it's like, what if I don't like bean soup? It's like, well, then don't fucking use the recipe. Scroll along. But the way algorithms it's like we're siloed in some ways. But then when things are prioritized just for engagement alone, more so than topic, and you're pushed something that's not really for you or doesn't meet like a hyper specific preference you have, it's like people, since it was pushed to you, people are annoyed by it and then become vocally opposed to it and like super obnoxious about things that were never meant for them. And this drives me fucking crazy. Well, I don't know if this is a bean soup moment, but it's kind of an example of like, if everyone shares their opinion about every passing thing super publicly, you have to be careful to not perform a level of surveillance on your behavior based on what some rando said about it. But I came across something on the internet where somebody was like roasting people who eat red delicious apples. And I, bean soup, am like, but I like red delicious apples. What's wrong with them? And I'm like reading, and I just became really confused. But also, I'm really new to apples. I don't know a lot about apple culture. I love red delicious apples. They are one of the only apple types I can eat. We don't need to get into my food allergies, but oral allergy syndrome makes it very hard to eat things with pits and cores and that grow near like allergens like birch and pollen. And when I was little, I ate a lot of apples. And then I couldn't for a while because my allergies were too bad. And in my 30s, I got to revisit apples. So I'm kind of new to apples. So I guess in a sense, it's similar. Like when you're, the age when you get famous is that when you stop maturing, it's like you're stunted. I think the age when I stopped eating apples stunted my apple journey. So I'm still reaching for the thing I reached for in like second grade. And then I brought this up to a friend and they laughed at me eating red delicious apples. I did not tell a joke. I dropped it because, like, what? Okay, Cosmic Crisp, sorry. Little old-fashioned for you. Like, what am I gonna do? I don't know. I dropped it, I moved forward, but I never moved on. And so I was like, wait, I'm gonna research why that's funny to somebody. And yeah, maybe peak brain rot for me is having the actual thought cross my mind. Like, well, shit. Are red delicious apples, like, problematic? I gotta look into this. Like, should I not like that? Anyways, like, literally, like, what are they gonna be homophobic? Like, no, I'm sure red delicious apples, they're fine. But still, I was like, there's something to this. If both, normally you can chalk up like, oh, I'm overthinking this. The brain rot, apple rot is like, just an internet thing. But when somebody said it in real life, I was like highly suspicious. So anyway, I had to look into Big Apple, which now that I say that is already taken for another reason. So anyway, fun fact about red delicious apples. It's basically like a purebred natural variety of apple that got industrialized too hard. And like started out good, and they were very popular in the 90s when I ate apples. But then became selectively bred for traits, allegedly, according to things like the top of my Google search, that matter to shipping and retail. So deep color, thick skin, uniform shape, long storage, and flavor was slowly sacrificed over time. And the modern red delicious apple became a symbol of industrial food. Basically, it was explaining that to prioritize like beauty, shelf appeal, if you will, it was optimized into mediocrity over time. But then I kept reading, as one does. This is what still gives me hope in the internet, gang. Actual news you can use. There's something called the Honeycrisp Revolution that showed up in the 1990s and crossbred apples engineered for recentering apples around texture and sensory impact. Thus, booting Red Delicious. In the 90s, Honeycrisp came out of nowhere, blew everything up because it was doing what Red Delicious wasn't. It was recentering apples around extreme crunch, explosive juice. I regret saying that. A good balance of sweetness and tartness, and breeders took note, and crunch became the new currency in the apple world. And now everything makes so much sense. Because whenever I'm at the store, I'm like, why the hell? What the fuck is a Cosmic Crisp? Like, that's an insane name for an apple. If your apple has a TM or an R next, like, they're like designer apples. Oh my God, what is that? Can you hear that like ding through the mic? Hang on. Anyway, back to apples. Long story short, this Honeycrisp revolution in the 90s, breeders started crossbreeding it with other types of apples because like it was such a star. The like modern designer apples that kind of bother me with their hip names are descendants. They're like second generation golden doodles of Honeycrisp apples, basically. Like a Cosmic Crisp is a Honeycrisp blended with something else. And a Honeycrisp was already like blended and engineered from something else. You know what I mean? If you get like an F2 doodle, it's like you can get a golden doodle that's a golden retriever and a doodle. Or your golden doodle might be born like from two golden doodles who were already mixed. This is not an endorsement of designer dogs nor a statement about dog breeding, just an apple-related dog metaphor. And if anything, you guys should be impressed by me because TLDR Red Delicious is kind of the adopt-don't-shop of apples. I have nothing to be embarrassed about. Sure, they're a little waxy and industrial, maybe a little mealy, but I don't know. But then I learned that Honeycrisp, Pink Lady, Cosmic Crisp, even Gala, they're more likely to trigger oral allergy syndrome because they're engineered to be modern and crunch forward. And it makes a lot of sense because if these apples were not only engineered for crunch, but for shelf life and to last in long cold storage, the proteins are virtually intact by the time the apple hits my mouth. So my antiquated industrialized Red Delicious, while less sexy, I suppose, is at least milder. It's lower acid. It's got a softer mouthfeel, slightly less aromatic, maybe not a cartoonish crunch like a college co-ed with a pencil behind their ear about to say a quirky line in a movie. And yeah, that's when I realized, oh, that person laughed because Red Delicious apples, I think, in the pretentious apple community, these aren't circles I'm in, they're like kind of excessively hated and like culturally scapegoated. Yet everyone used to like them, so they're effectively the Nickelback of apples. And it makes sense why I was laughed at now. Not because it's wrong, but something about my preference, I guess, is objectively uncool. Anyway, you guys, I guess I just wanted to say, if you find it in your heart, please adopt a Red Delicious today. It's not flashy, it's not fashionable. It's got thick skin and a waxy mouthfeel, but it's been through some stuff, and I think it's on the up and up. And without our support, they will disappear from supermarkets. This episode is brought to you by Chatbooks. Last week I was telling you about Chatbooks on Instagram and how a photo of a sneaks snuck into my chatbook. because Chatbooks, it's an app on your phone that will go through your photos and help suggest photos, or you can choose them to put in ongoing little photo albums that are called month books, which is what I do. You can do month books, you can do classic books or books for events. And that way you have the memories from your phone like printed out. And they're these beautiful little like books that look ombre on your bookshelf, which great aesthetic wise. But also what I love about it is I like so many pictures of my kid, of my life. They're casual. They're not very staged. Sometimes they have like text on them from Instagram. I don't know. But that's what I like about month books. It's a low pressure way to log your memories that doesn't feel like everything needs to be perfect and stylized. And when I saw that it picked up a photo of a sneak to put in my Chatbook, I was almost thrilled because A, that shows you how good it is, because I think it thought it was a toddler shoe, because what grown woman's shoe has 2 pieces of Velcro on it? No offense to Velcro. I know it's very practical and I'm sure some shoes look lovely. But again, this is a sneaker with a stiletto high heel on it. And yeah, I don't know, maybe I'm feeling this way because I've been watching the Eras Tour documentary, but looking back at the months of my life through Chatbooks, it's like looking through my own eras in a way. Because you know how, like, especially with motherhood, every phase is so different. You have amnesia about the last one you were in. Like, I forget what having a newborn was like. I forget what a 1-year-old was like. But Teddy and I love looking at these books also because we don't live near a lot of family. And so every night we'll like point to people. He says who they are. It's very cute. I don't know. Life is full of little moments we don't remember, but those are the moments that make up your life. And those are the moments that Chatbooks brings to life. And also, if you're a month book subscriber, you create a yearbook at the end of the year through the app where you can select your best photos from the month book. So you can have that like more curated collection if you want. And otherwise, the app does all the work for you. So you don't have to scroll back through all the sneak screenshots to try to curate the best album. And they have these beautiful designer covers you can choose from. I actually am in the process of making a bigger classic book for another reason I can't disclose because they haven't received it yet. Like I said, you can build a book in minutes. You open the app, you pick the month or album you want, you select the photos. The Chatbook selects photos for you. You can edit them down. You can select your own photos. The experience is so simple. It's so intuitive. It's so fast. And it kind of corrects for all of the like ways that you don't feel like taking on the labor of doing photo albums because it is labor. And I think Chatbooks just makes it really effortless to get them off your device and onto something you can hold on to. And it's ideal for busy parents, for memory keepers. It's like I have a scrapbook, but no guilt about not making a scrapbook, but I didn't actually have to make a scrapbook. You know what I mean? Download the app and head to the Deals tab to start Chatbooking today. Special code BeThereIn5 for 20% off your purchase. That's BeThereIn5 for 20% off your purchase from the Chatbooks app. This episode's also brought to you by Baked by Melissa. Finding the perfect gift can feel impossible, and you want something that's thoughtful and fun and guaranteed to make people smile. And Baked by Melissa is such an amazing go-to. I just got my mom on board. I've been sending them to friends with these bite-sized cupcakes they're just a crowd pleaser. They have flavors for everyone. They have different themes, unique packaging for any occasion. And it's just a kind of an unexpected gift that's like not your average like flowers, candy sort of vibe. It's just a bunch of little treats. Who doesn't like a little treat? Each bite-sized cupcake gives you the perfect ratio of cake, of stuffing, icing, and topping in every single bite, with new flavors introduced every month, and they're perfect for sending to people you love or for treating yourself. I've been buying them for myself too. And I have to remind the Swifties, there is a Life of a Showgirl themed one that I think is a really fun, like thinking of you gift for the Swiftie in your life. And right now, specifically, for the holidays, they have these 3 unique holiday gift boxes that are perfect for all of your holiday gifting. Hostess gifts, sending to loved ones across the country, treating your team, your clients, and they ship fast and arrive in 1 to 2 days nationwide. And you can choose the arrival date so you can make sure things are arriving perfectly fresh and on time. And there's something for everyone. And they're made entirely by hand, which is really cool. And I just feel like they turn any moment into a celebration. It doesn't feel like store-bought generic. The themes are beautiful. The cupcakes are really cute. And they offer incredible gluten-free, vegan, no-nut options, etc. So yeah, you can really treat everybody you love. And they've celebrated more than 100,000 birthdays since 2008 and have been featured Today Show, Good Morning America, People Magazine, and so many other places, and this podcast because I'm a huge fan. And right now, Baked by Melissa is offering our listeners 20% off your order at bakedbymelissa.com/BeThereIn5. That's bakedbymelissa.com/BeThereIn5 for 20% off your order. I think I'm bored of just rehashing a year that I already didn't think was that great. Okay, here's what I actually want to talk about. I feel like a lot of us feel like our brains are broken. Our attention spans are shot. And the reality is we're up against a lot. And I think shaming ourselves for scrolling and engaging in the attention economy is kind of a moot point because it would be pretty hard to avoid. And there is part of me that's like, this is on me. I need to be more disciplined, less scrolly, more just present in my own life, sure. But like when you look at the mechanics of how these platforms work, we never stood a chance. We never stood a chance. And I always like to point out when we never stand a chance because I think it makes us go easier on ourselves. Because TikTok and Reels, which is basically TikTok in a different font, like they operate on what researchers call a 48-hour viral death cycle. Like this is from a report I was reading called 48-hour death cycle. 16,000 videos are uploaded every minute on TikTok, for example. And if your video doesn't catch fire within 48 hours, the algorithm has moved on. And creators, it said that creators who post 2 hours late to a trend will watch it underperform because the algorithm has already migrated attention elsewhere. And like, that's just from a content creation and creator burnout standpoint that I think should tell you everything you need to know about how skewed the incentives are for what people post and what they're trying to provoke from you. Because it's their like meal ticket, right? Yeah. I'm Dancing with the Stars, Chad. Still going strong. Microtrends are now a thing that like maybe is what we called a fad back in the day, but that's a life cycle of like what distinguishes a trend from a microtrend is a microtrend lasts 4 hours to 1 week. So you'll get the shipping notification for the thing you bought for that microtrend and it's like already over and irrelevant. And, then you have to deal with the shame spiral of landfills are us. And it's not, the thing is, it's just, yeah, we got to be careful, but it's not accidental. It's economically designed. These aren't social media apps, they're advertising apps. And the faster things move and the more time you spend on the app, the more ads you'll see, the more money they make. So why do you feel like your brain is broken? Why do you feel like you can't keep up when you scroll for an hour and can't remember a single thing you saw? Like, you're not failing. The system's working as it's designed. And I think we just have to call attention to it and be cognizant of it, but not fall in like shame spirals about wasting our one wild and precious life, And I think when you look back on 2025, it's like obviously the current events were like dire and the politically things feel like, everything could fall apart at any moment if it already hasn't. But I also think that pop culture is usually the thing that helps us string together our days and provides like the decorative elements to life that, aren't our physiological needs, but sure as hell make our days a hell of a lot more enjoyable, a lot prettier, make the hard stuff a lot easier to bear by having these shared moments, experiences, humor, colloquialisms. It's the shit I love in life. But I think that at this pace and with these incentives and with this level of exploitation and with the introduction of AI, it makes sense that we feel like we're drowning in culture, but at the same time starving for it. That's my scholastic argument for like, you're not the problem. You're not having trouble keeping up. Your memory's not shot. Your attention span's fine. Because listen, I do think that like this stuff's reversible. Like, I don't think the brain rot is like a permanent condition. I think that the ways we, like my mom's been telling me I've been rotting my brain since 87, guys. Like wherever technology evolves, whatever I have available to me, I will use it to disassociate, to escape elsewhere, to get the scoop on what other people are doing. Because A, I'm nosy as fuck. And B, I like to chill. And C, I don't like to do that outside or exercising, not because I'm not like other girls, but because, again, exercise induces asthma, mostly for attention. No, I'm just kidding. But like, no, I'm kind of lazy. I'm super curious. I love pop culture, and I'm going to consume it on any screen available, however we advance through time. And it's not better that in 2008 I was clocking 8 to 12 hours on my IKEA Ektorp sofa watching America's Next Top Model marathons. You think Tyra Mail was better for my brain? God, no. It was probably a worse influence than TikTok is today. But I think that this is just what it looks like now. This is where we are. This is what we have access to, and this is what's entertaining us. So I don't want you to feel like it's like, we're too far gone. But I do think there is a point where I go back and forth between thinking like, well, algorithms are maybe a good thing for how they can connect you to like your age group, your culture, your lore, what matters to you. But at the same time, I do feel like there's still like a mainstream anchor of what gets pushed to the forefront that mostly does have to do with people that are much younger than us. And I struggle in this job to speak in platitudes about how like shit's not interesting anymore. We're starving for culture, get inundated with it. Because it could just be that I find shit less interesting because I'm out of the main age group that it serves. Or like inching there. I keep starting and stopping this episode and because I'm like, I keep being like, this is boring. And then I ask myself, well, maybe I find these topics boring. And like, then I'll try to make an argument for it being a year of like moment sludge and like, so much AI injection into our feed that I think really was disruptive in all the worst ways. And I too fell for the bunnies. The idea of bunnies that already can hop with their own natural trampoline feet, hopping on a trampoline is sweet and delightful. It's kind of like videos of bears breaking into kitchens. I don't know. I'm only human. The problem is AI isn't. I think I'm struggling with not being able to discern between what elements of culture I think are genuinely broken and are fair game to discuss on here versus when I have to acknowledge A, personal preference, and B, aging out of like the epicenter of culture that generates from people much younger than me, and the style in which they like to consume and the things that they prefer are going to seep into the mainstream and become like the trends of X year, whatever. And for so long, I was inside that demo, or at least on the cusp of it. And I love being in the know. And I love feeling like I know what, I don't know. I like being on the pulse. I was going to say I like being cool, but that's so deeply uncool to say that I caught myself. But like, I don't think anybody wants to feel uncool. And I do think that this is the first year that I was like, I feel old. I feel like maybe this is just how young people's brains work and the things they like to consume. And I can't really tell where there's a legitimate argument for negative implications of how technology has evolved and like where that ends and where the tale as old as time begins, where a person gets older and they think that the way they've done it is the right way. And they start to blame the youths and or the pace of things and or technological evolutions as this scapegoat for a decline in quality when it's like, nah, bro, you just got old. And I'm careful to say that because I don't think I'm old. I feel like naming an age, like naming a weight or whatever numeric thing and stating definitively how you feel about it, like, or assigning a value as like good, bad, old, young, this, that. It's like anybody older than you is going to be like, what the hell, man? I don't feel that way. And you're like grouping me into that. Like I'm 38. I'm not implying that that's old. I know it's not. But I feel like there's almost these 3 steps. I don't even mean like a physical aging, but I mean of like cognitive, spiritual aging in a sense of just like getting older and maturing. There's like the version of young you are when it doesn't occur to you that you won't always be young. And you're just like, well, that's me. That's who I am. Like, I'm a young person. And you kind of like live in it as if it's a static thing. And then some time passes and you do start to get older and your life changes a bit, but you're still young enough to joke about being old as like a kind of flirtation with LOL, like I feel old. Because you like, no, you're not. And I feel like I've recently entered the 3rd phase. We're not in terms of like, I'm old as in like I've lived most of my life. I'm a wise old owl, a big black crow flapping her wings saying, go bird, go. What is that from? Oh, Rockin' Robin. What were we talking about? Yes, cognitive decline. No, but I feel like I'm at this 3rd phase now where like I actually am feeling it and I need to figure out what to do about it and stop rejecting it. It's almost like this weird grief of realizing like, oh, a lot of what is mainstream now interests and excites me a little less. And like the permission to just like, can I not care about a new thing, and not make it like a part of my brand and identity to be like a person just a little out of the loop. I don't want to be one of those people that's like, I'm old, I don't get it. I don't want that to be the edit. And I think that like I'm aging out a little and maybe not as interested into what trickles into the mainstream, which is mostly driven by people in their teens and 20s. But that's how it should be. It's a rite of passage. I enjoyed, being closer to the heartbeat and not feeling like I hear the echoes. And I think that the system's designed to keep us exhausted, to keep us feeling empty and kind of coming back in hopes to find something interesting or fulfilling. And some days I do. But I don't think the answer is to like try harder to keep up. I think the answer is to ask like what I actually want to hold on to. Because if nothing sticks, if nothing lasts long enough to matter, what the hell is culture even for, And I think we have to be just as enchanted with and invested in our own culture, our own lore, our own communities, our own lives. It's kind of like, as a person that talks about culture, I want us to ask ourselves, like, what actually sticks? What do you want to remember from this year? What culture are you building in your own life, even if it's not trending? Like, how can we care less about following the North Star of people, 2 decades our junior? And like, as a generation, like, we can make our culture visible as we age in ways that previous generations couldn't. And I think when you hit your 30s and 40s and beyond, you kind of feel like you have two options. Like, do you keep participating in youth culture, or do you accept cultural irrelevance? And I'm like, I don't want to exist somewhere in between, trying to be a cool mom and resignation that I'm just a mom who's no longer cool. I am cool, and I'm a mom, and I have decent taste, and I like to keep up. And I like red, delicious apples. And yeah, this is just something I think a lot about, the space between relevance and resignation. And why isn't there a third option? I think this job probably makes me hyper-focus more on feeling relevant, not only to like mainstream culture, but more importantly, you guys. And it is a tricky game of allowing yourself to grow and change, but how to not alienate why people are here in the first place, and not ever really knowing if you're growing and changing too. And the anxiety that I now really understand from Red TV, how much you worry about being nothing new. It didn't go well for the apples, I'll tell you that much. This episode is also brought to you by Draper James, makers of that plaid coat I was wearing last week on Instagram. If you saw it, with a faux fur collar that's detachable, very cute. Also have a plaid sequined dress I can't wait to bust out at Christmas. Or I also got a sequined midi skirt from there. I've always wanted to be a sequined midi skirt gal, and I'm really going to try to pull it off this holiday season. But I, like you want to build a wardrobe that keeps your closet, current without chasing fleeting trends. That's kind of what we are talking about on this episode. I want to feel cute, but I don't want to only be consuming things that are disposable. And I like when brands can kind of pair that of the moment vibe with stuff that's wearable season over season. And they constantly, drop fresh new arrivals that are fun to look through. But beyond that, Draper James, they really shine with their timeless staples and easy to wear dresses that instantly make you feel pulled together, or classic like blazers and coats. And they have really cute pieces you'll reach for year after year. And what sets them apart is their attention to detail. There's a lot of thoughtful craftsmanship in every stitch, every button. And from the fabric selection to fit, everything feels intentional and well made. Wish me luck with my midi skirt. And if you're ready to refresh your wardrobe and pieces that combine style, quality, and longevity, head to draperjames.com. I'm linking it in the show notes. And here's the best part. Use code BTIF10 at checkout to get 10% off site-wide. Whether you're looking for those fresh new arrivals or investing in timeless staples, this is the perfect time to discover what makes Draper James so special. Trust me, your future self will thank you for choosing quality pieces that last. Happy shopping. This episode is brought to you by Cozy Earth. I love Cozy Earth. Cozy Earth allows me to give the gift of better sleep, of bamboo sheets, of pajamas that have an inseam that's long enough for tall people, or a bubble cuddle blanket. That's, the ultimate cozy gift, TV watching, cuddly snuggle by the fire movie night with the family gift. Add a touch of luxury to any room. They're bamboo sheets too, they're viscose from bamboo for a soft feel. They keep you cozy without overheating. They help you sleep several degrees cooler. I do like to gift people experiences, but I actually think this product is a hybrid in a way because I enjoy the experience of Cozy Earth stuff so much. Pajamas, loungewear, bedding, it creates joy that lingers past the holidays, and I genuinely appreciate that about it. And everything comes with a 100-night sleep trial. If you don't love it, return them hassle-free. There's a 10-year warranty. I love their duvets. I love their duvet covers. Their silk pillows are literally life-changing. Give a gift to yourself or someone else. If not a gift to someone else, gift it to yourself because it's really that good. And if you want to give the gift of everyday luxury and make every moment comfortable, head to CozyEarth.com and use my code BeThereIn5 for up to 20% off. And if you get a post-purchase survey, be sure to mention you heard about Cozy Earth right here. Give the gift of comfort that lasts beyond the holidays and carries into a cozy new year. So yeah, I guess I've been surveying, does my brain feel broken? I hear people use this phrase a lot, I guess, but it's I agree.
but I don't actually know exactly what they're talking about. And it might just be like algorithmic attention span related. And I might be getting too deep here. But mine is three-pronged. Mine is, I feel like the inundation of information and the lack of retention of it and my concern for all of that stuff. Um, and then it's like just coming to terms with like, am I getting older? Have I changed? Or have my interests just shifted? And I'm kind of becoming that person that's like clinging to a version of me that wants so badly to stay relevant. But then that also makes me ask the question of like, who defines relevance, right? Like, who the fuck did any of us come this far to have like spent our entire lives trying to be cool, only to be like, yeah, I feel decent about myself. And then to like age 2 to 3 years and to have other people make us feel slightly inferior about how we dress or what we like, or if we understand what skibbity is. Like deep down, I know that that doesn't matter, but I'd be lying if I said it didn't cross my mind sometime. And it's not really age related. Like the people I want to be, the people I look up to the most, the people I think are the coolest, they're all older than me. They're like ageless to me. The chicest, most badass, successful women that to me are thriving and doing their best are all in their 40s or older. And it really has nothing to do with actual age. And I think if I'm being honest with myself, the thing I struggle with more than age is motherhood. Is the demands of it on your brain and at times body and at times like bandwidth. Like I physically, it's not even a decision. It's like I just can't care about all the stuff I used to. I don't have the space. And I'm always afraid to say that because I never want to imply that if only moms experience this like bandwidth issue, because that's not what I mean at all. But there's a really specific era, I think, with young kids in terms of how demanding it is. But I would imagine caretaking in any format is, whether a child, whether an aging parent, a sick partner, or beyond. It's like I am a youngest child who always did what I wanted, and my parents let me fly. And it's continues to be new to me, even 2 years in, that I am so wholly dependent on.
I think my year was partially hard because I'm forever grieving the former version of my brain that did some of my better work that I think would be at a different place in my career. And I'm forever feeling like I can't get anything done. I look back on this year and I'm like, I accomplished nothing. Like, this is the first year in a while I'm like, I don't really feel that proud of myself. I feel like I'm now deeper in a life phase that's past the building and past the mile marking and more about just like being the person I spent all that time building myself up to be, and reconciling with this weird feeling of like, okay, so I've arrived, but why don't I feel like I've made it? You know what I mean? And I think there's like a whole other conversation to be had with this life phase that I don't know if some of you are in or if this makes any sense at all, where your identity for so long can be marked by the person you want to become. The grace you give yourself can be very rooted in, well, you're a beginner, you still have time, you're so young, But once you've been at it a while, once you're in the middle of your life, you're living the life you spent all those years building toward. And when you don't feel like you're the person that you imagined, or you have the peace that you want, or the lifestyle, or I don't know, whatever it is. Like, we're always managing the disconnect between our expectations and our realities. But I think the thing about the mental demands and the physicality of being in motherhood and the ways you don't have a choice but to be so in your life and routine. I'm kind of in a weird phase where I don't know how to present a version of myself that is interesting. And I pray that I can sustain this job by just being a person who's interested, because I am in everything and always will be. But it's a little weird to like just be, I don't know. People in my type of work just have like such big, interesting lives. And like, I don't know how to be that person. And I think what's weird about entering like a more middle-aged zone, or it's like once you get out of like the trying to and having a kid and like just surviving the new motherhood baby phase, it's like, okay, I spent so much of my life getting my energy from becoming something, always looking to the next phase, the next step, whatever. And now I'm just like being. Have I lost perspective? Is my contentment contingent upon the propulsion, the motion of building and not being somewhere yet? Am I going to take on new things or set goals like just to manufacture a version of myself where I can give myself more grace because I'm just starting out at something, I'm new to something like and I think what I'm looking for is not falling for the idea that this part of my life is boring or insignificant, because far from it. I think I'm figuring out how to like reassign the way I value things and my time and what makes me feel important. And I think that I'm trying to figure out what it looks like being in a life phase that isn't necessarily as flashy or like culturally valued or stimulating in some ways, but it's still interesting to me. It's still beautiful and fulfilling in its own way. And it's slower and it's more internal and it's quieter. And the thing is, it's not that I'm not content. In fact, I love so many things about this phase, but you maybe don't realize until you slow down a bit how much of your identity is grounded in not being the person you hope to become. And then you kind of get to a place where you're like, oh, by the time I got here, I was supposed to be her. But now that I'm here, even if I haven't arrived, I don't know what to do about it because I've simply run out of time to make progress, to optimize, to do anything other than maintain. And I gather that from friends, like this just so isn't forever. And it's like really specific to a time, to having a young kid or young kids or being in the middle of like trying, to have another. I'm not pregnant, by the way. People have asked me that recently. I'm like, am I giving that energy? Do I talk about wine less? IDK. But I don't know. It's like, yeah, even one kid in like the phase we're in is just, it's not that I don't have help. And my husband's arguably more of a primary caregiver at times because my work requires me to respond and edit and do things like in unconventional hours. And I have childcare. Like I'm in a very privileged position, yet I still find it really overwhelming. I think that's why I liked the show All Her Fault, because literally those women could have not been in more ideal positions. And they like to have help, to have access to resources, but they just were still like exasperated and doing the most. And I don't know why that is. But yeah, I just am like, I waited till the last possible minute, I feel like, to get to this place, to have kids and to be a version of me that was like successful enough, financially stable enough, and had felt like I had lived enough life to really not resent staying in. And in many ways I don't, and I feel like that was the right move, but it's still crazy to me how compromised my spare time feels and how aware I am of all the things I'm not doing and the places I could be, the success I could have, the version of me that's better educated, more well-read, that has time to dream and discover and is not just like beelining to bed, because I don't know if I know who I am without working toward the better person I'm going to become. And maybe I thought I'd be at rest. I'd have less ambition. This would be all I needed. But it's not. There's so many things I still want to do. And I think motherhood, for all the ways it limits your time and headspace, it expands your worldview so tremendously. It's probably made me more ambitious. And there's just a constant frustrating tension of like, I so badly, and I'm about to say the most cliche thing that anybody could ever say about motherhood, that I now understand so deeply. To quote the dude in the male athleisure, I feel it in my bones. Welcome to the new age. Seriously, I want to be a great mom, and I want to be great at my job.
And I genuinely, wholeheartedly don't feel guilty as much as I just want to be in two places at once. I think that motherhood brings about a lot of identity questions. And I used to be able to be so all in on my work, and now I can't. And not because I don't want to, but because half of me belongs to somebody else now. And that's something that if somebody said to me before I had a kid, I'd be like, ew, I'd rather not split myself up and sell me for parts. Like, I want to keep all of me. But no, I don't resent that. I chose that. I want that. Yeah, it's like what you wanted and what you worked for. But you don't stop wanting things. You don't lose interest in your work or yourself or your own development.
It simply has to do with running out of space and time to do more than what's required. And the frustration of how I've never been better primed to grow and to learn and to thrive, but less able to dedicate time to anything resembling progress. And that's the third prong of what feels broken about my brain that I guess has nothing to do with 2025, but I guess is new for me here at Be There in 5 that I always stop myself from talking about because to somebody somewhere it will always be bean soup.
A part of me thinks that like I've lost irrevocable time and headspace and quality of work in recent years that will forever haunt me or feel like it kind of stunted what could have been like more growth to where like I would be more at peace and not feel like I had to hustle. But part of me is also like, God, I can't resent the time spent elsewhere because I feel like this kid saves me day in and day out. But by forcing me out of my head and onto the floor and looking eye to eye with this perfect being that is like so oblivious to absolutely everything and finds joy and wonder in a cloud, in a tape measure, the comedy of an oversized shoe on his tiny foot. You guys, my son, the passion, the precision, the excitement he approaches a 4-door sedan, parallel parked outside of my home, like it is a rare vintage Shelby Cobra. I mean, there's nothing more beautiful than watching someone become a person with ne'er a stigma in sight.
There's something really helpful for me to just really sit there and try and absorb the sweetness and purity of this age where he's completely judgment free. The other day, like he has this toy BMW, but he keeps talking about how he wants a Grand Marquis. But like, it's almost become this metaphor for me of like just being refreshed by a young man so deeply unencumbered by any sense of stigma. Over time, how you lose that, how you worry about being irrelevant or your choice in apples. You spend too much time observing other people living their lives and yours feels uncool. Or honestly, like I think that I'm still working through like
a bit of an internalized stigma that like moms aren't interesting,
whether by way of my own misogyny or like societal input and in terms of what I thought this phase looked like, what moms must care about and feel like. And
I'm not saying you're not interesting if you're a mom. I'm saying the kind of like cultural erasure of your ambition, your identity, the things you still want and care about. It's like, I am so buried in this life phase in some ways, but I'm still here. And it's interesting to at once feel that, but also not have lost the stigma of like, I'm just doing mom stuff and nobody wants to hear about that. That's not interesting, you know? Like poor Courtney. I feel like once a month I'll like spiral and be like, I'm not interesting anymore. Like I have nothing. I don't know why people would want to hear from me. I'm just doing mom stuff. Like, but even saying that bothers me. I think it's really interesting. Like I do. I think that's one of the biggest surprises of my life is like, this is perhaps one of the most fascinating ventures I've ever been on. It's a different kind of engaging and stimulating and fulfilling than work is. And sometimes feel like I can't talk about the thing that's most interesting to me right now without worrying I'm becoming less interesting to everybody else. And I don't know if any of you have ever felt like this too, in terms of having a lot of identity questions or questions about the perception of your identity. Because it's not necessarily about motherhood. It's about whatever phase you're in that doesn't necessarily feel culturally valued, maybe.
I was just, I owe you guys I owe you guys Patreon about the last two eras, and I already recorded the one about the Elf on the Shelf Christmas traditions you did to make like something low labor for you seem whimsy, and now you do less work. I just have to edit it back when I'm done with this. But I'm done for the year, so I now have time to do that. And I also want to talk about the Two Eras tour. Well, maybe I should wait till we have them all, though. And I was like shedding a like cinematic single tear, earnestly watching her sing that mashup of "This Is Me Trying" and what was the other song? I forget. But I love that song for so many reasons. But yeah, I was like, dang, I've been having a hard time adjusting. Had the shiniest wheels, now they're rusting. She's talking about me. And in an internet of Shelby Cobras, how you feel about being a Grand Marquis. And no offense if you're a Mercury enthusiast. I know there's many of you out there. You know, it's kind of it's kind of just associated with being like an older demographic car. It's kind of a boat. It's giving Florida and retired, which is one hell of a drug. And many of you have pointed out that I dress my son like he's a retired man in Florida. So I guess it tracks. But the important thing is he likes it. And the important thing is I'm learning to like it, and I'm learning to appreciate what's left when you care a little less about what something is or means relative to something else. Because, well, I do want to tell my son, dude, that is deeply uncool. I am going to let him live in this state where everything is a pure function of his own compass and interest and preferences. And it's like such a beautiful thing that we lose as human beings that it really inspires me every day. And I know that's corny, but it does. That really was so good, by the way. And I just am, it's like I'm grateful she acknowledged it. She didn't fully acknowledge it, but at least she said it, because I too don't know how I would feel about my love story starting out with a person that not only said butthurt that one time, but keep saying it, because it's a terrible term. And every time he says it, I die a little inside. Anyway, you guys, what was I saying? I don't know. I guess I just wanted to share that, yeah, I typically come on here and try to pose as a person who's, I don't know, just powering through whatever is the topic at hand. And I go back and forth between how personal to get, and I just don't know. This is me trying, I guess. I'm trying to figure out how to be a person who's better at being plugged in, who's also better at being out of office when I need to be, and who can figure out a way to stay on top of stuff despite the speed and the pace and the churn and the way people like get over stuff really fast, and who still wants to participate in everything. But like, yeah, guys, I sleep now. Like, that's fucking crazy. I stayed up all night for years. We can't be firing on all cylinders all the time. And it kind of eventually turns you into a version of yourself that's like functional, but not necessarily vibrant. And isn't that the plight of a red delicious apple? Oh God. I can't be offering crunch and texture and flavor and serving waxy skin, you know? Anyway, this got off course, and I don't even know how to land this plane, gang. I have to get on a plane and pack for it. So gotta go. I always want to try and focus on the I, the we, the us, you know, like talk through what we've experienced, talk through what I think it's doing to us, and tell you how I feel as well, even if it's not how everybody else does. But hopefully we can expand it to something somewhere you related to or understand or have experienced this year. And I don't know what 2026 will bring. Like, if I'm being honest, like I'd love to end on a more hopeful note, but I think it'll be another year of moment sludge and Microtrends that'll evaporate before we can even hold on to them, and a lot of the same exhausting, forgettable chaos. But that's okay. These are the times we are in, and it's not our job to figure out at all times of day how to overhaul the powers that be. My only action step is that I want to spend a little less time on things that are decidedly, like, obviously more disposable, and a little more time figuring out what to hold on to, celebrating, honoring, engaging in the stuff that sticks, and not feeling bad about, you know, stewing around in the slop on occasion. Because there's
There's quality to be found there too. Again, I like the Cat's Eye Song Internet Girl and find it to be a think piece. I really don't want you to think I'm some sort of changed woman here. I think I get really contemplative toward the end of the year because the passage of time like really makes me anxious and makes me feel weird about all the things I haven't done and all the resolve I don't have within myself. And yeah, let me know where to send the bill for this therapy sesh. Love ya. And that's it for me for 2025. I hope you had a good time. I hope whatever it is you're doing, you enjoy it. I hope you get some rest. I hope you get to be fully present somewhere. I hope you can find something that sticks. And nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday, but I hope yours are at least red delicious. Whatever the fuck that means. All right, you guys. Thank you for the privilege of your time. As always, let me know your thoughts and I'll let you know mine. I'll be there in 5, I swear.